Okay, this week I'm going to talk about like a good old calorie counters or calorie trackers, stuff like MyFitnessPal and everything. So personally, I have used those in the past. Like I used MyFitnessPal that I mentioned. Currently, I don't, but so you kind of have to look at like where you're standing and kind of take what I'm saying. And be like, okay, is it good? Is it not? Do I need to? Or now, the great thing about like these calorie counters, like MyFitnessPal, is that it actually helps you gauge on like how much you are actually eating. Now, you obviously always want to make sure you're getting quality food over like the quantity. So the good old like ground beef that you cook at home versus like a quarter pounder from McDonald's, that's the sense of like a quality. So of course quantity still does matter because you need like a certain amount of like a baseline certain amount of calories to at least survive. That's called your BMR or RMR, basal metabolic rate or resting metabolic rate, which is basically me just like kind of sitting here all day and how much how much calories do you need to burn to be able to just in a sense get that baseline you need to like in a sense survive. It's usually roughly around 1700 or so, but like there's so many different variables that you kind of have to take into an account on like, okay, how active you are you. That's my cat coming in to get some attention. Yes. Yeah, you're gonna be the star of the show, huh? Yep, like usual. Yeah, you're talking about calorie counters. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, you don't worry about that, do you? Huh? Anyway, and like I said, there's like many different factors like how active you are. So someone like me who's and has at least a somewhat active job where I'm up on my feet moving around quite a bit, I'm gonna need like a base rest and metabolic rate like a lot higher, or like an overall calorie intake than someone who's like completely sedentary, and also your activity level like outside of work. My job is like active versus like a office job. Do you actually go to the gym to make sure you're taking care of your physical health and everything? And are you also lifting weights and everything? So lifting weights, you're probably gonna have to up your protein intake, and so this is one of the many things that like the calorie counters can track and everything. And now they're probably not like 100% accurate because for instance, when you're looking at like the nutritional label for when you get a bag of apples, it might say like, oh, you get like 90 calories and 12 grams of carbs and this and a gram of protein and this and that and all like maybe 8, 9, 10 apples in the bag aren't necessarily going to have exactly 90 calories and exactly like 12 grams of carbs and 1 gram of protein or whatever. What it does is it actually gives you a ballpark figure in that instead of oh I don't know how much I'm eating and I don't know how much how many calories I'm intaking and everything. What this does is like it gives you like a good ballpark figure. Like the apple's like, okay, well I know I'm getting about 90 calories versus before you're like, well honestly I don't know how many calories I'm getting from this apple or whatever. So like it gives you, like I said, a good old ballpark figure. And like instead of think of traveling from here to the moon, you're gonna without knowing the distance and everything, versus traveling yeah, I'm in North America, and so imagine traveling from or in the Northeast, so like in New York, so maybe traveling from you know, if you look at New York, like you maybe instead of from traveling from New York up to the moon, you're traveling from maybe the Canadian border down to maybe Albany or something. It gives you that much more okay, well now I've got more like a good idea of how much I'm eating. So now getting back to the resting metabolic rate, that's like I said, basically like the bottom on like what you need to survive. So it's roughly 16, maybe 1700, and like one of the things that it does up that is like your muscle mass. So the more muscle mass you have, you're going to need in a sense more energy, and that's what calories are, is energy to maintain that, because the more muscle you have, the more energy you need to maintain that muscle mass and everything. So that's why lifting weights is good, because like it raises your resting metabolic rate. So that way, if like you're someone who's completely sedentary, you might even only need like 1,500 calories a day to survive or whatever, versus like if you have like you add in like an extra, say, 20 pounds of muscle, you might need 1,700 calories to survive. So you might think like, well, it's 200 calories, that's not much a big deal. So but if you go do it over time, 200 calories a day times 7, that's like an extra 1,400 calories you're just burning just by like in a sense existing. So and that helps in a sense maintain like any weight loss that you did to begin with and everything. So that's kind of getting back into like lifting. That's why you kind of want to do it. But anyway, the more active you are, the more obviously the more calories you're going to need. So like what these calorie counters do is you can kind of set the like okay, well, how active am I? Okay, I'm kind of sedentary, so okay, maybe I set it so maybe I only need 1,800 calories, and so you can sit there and plug in like all the food you can eat that you eat. So like you sit there, you scan that bag of apples. Oh look, boom! I plug in that apple and everything. Maybe I have like that ground beef burger I made, so I scan that and put it in, and then it tracks like how much calories you are consuming. It also tracks like all your your macronutrients, your fat, your carbs, and your protein, and it does, in a sense, track most of your micronutrients too. So that way, you can kind of get a gauge of like if you can see, do I have any deficiencies in the micronutrients? Oh, hey, look, I'm deficient in iron, or like maybe like I take that multivitamin, I'm still deficient in iron. So like maybe you can scan that multivitamin to kind of boost up like the tracking of the micronutrients, and that way it gives you a good idea on like where you are at, not only in how much calories you're consuming, but also like what you're getting for your like macro and micronutrients. So you can that much make adjustments that much better. And so this is like now in my opinion, even though I don't use calorie counters anymore, because like I've gotten to the point after like a good like 9-10 years of like of consistency of like pretty much like after using that for like 2 or 3 years. Okay, well, I tend to eat the same stuff like day in and day out and everything. So like I'm like what's the point of me like tracking like, oh look, it's the same thing as yesterday and everything. So but like however, it's a great tool to begin with, because that like I'll reiterate, it gives you like a good ballpark figure, like okay, well, according to what I'm putting in, I'm intaking 2,100 calories, and I'm like between work, between like maybe taking like doing the 10,000 steps and that, and plus my workout, it says I'm like burning 2,300 calories a day. So like now, of course, with a lot of the Fitbits and Garmin's and like smartwatches, those aren't necessarily like, accurately the calorie burn themselves, which is another tool you could use to like use count calories and stuff, but or see how much you burn. But those necessarily aren't 100% accurate, and I'll probably get into that in like a later video. But the actual calorie counters themselves, like MyFitnessPal, it lets you plug in what you eat. So like in case you do have like that those garbage food, like the donuts and like the ding dongs, you can actually sit there and scan all that food, and you see like, oh shit, I'm not actually getting any nutrition from this. I'm just basically getting empty calories from all this stuff. So why am I going to continue eating these donuts and everything? Okay, maybe if I want a snack or something, I'll like change out that like donut with an apple, or maybe like an orange or a banana or something. Yeah, I'm still getting sugar from the fruit and everything, but it's like a fraction of the amount of sugar that you would be getting from the donuts. Plus, you're also getting other things, though, like you're getting like fiber. You're also getting those micronutrients that I mentioned. So when you're first getting started out on your like getting physical in your physical journey of getting into fitness and getting your especially when you're getting your nutrition in check, this is like a valuable tool. Now if it's something that like maybe you are someone that like it's easy for you to kind of go off the rails, and like if you don't use it and then you find yourself like stuff in your face kind of easy, like then yeah, I would say continue to use it, so that way you can have that like you pull out like this good old phone and everything, and like you have that constant reminder, like, oh hey, look, I need to like uh it's 3 o'clock and I've already had like 1,800 calories, and like my goal is to stay at like 2,100. So like, okay, so I'm going to get up and like go out for like an extra half-hour walk, and then when I sit down for dinner, I can be in that range for like my maintain like in a sense what's called maintenance, calories. So like the good old calories in, calories out. So like you're intaking 2,300 calories, you're burning 2,300 calories, you're pretty much at like a maintenance and everything. So that's like another way to help track. So like, oh hey, look, I'm starting to like eat a little more than I normally do. Okay, so you can help get you in the mindset of like getting like a little more active. Like I said, get out for that extra half-hour walk or something to burn like an extra 100 calories or something. So that's the whole point of like things like the calorie counters like MyFitnessPal, is to help you track what you're eating, so that way you understand like you can get like a good indication of like how much protein you're intaking, how much fat, carbs, like okay, what how much my micronutrients are, am I deficient in something beyond what I eat and take a multivitamin, do I need to start supplementing with like micronutrients and everything. So it gives you like a good data point, a lot of data points to work with. And so like ending this real quick, well, I have used them in the past and I don't use them anymore. Like I said, that like I kind of pretty much eat the same stuff day in and day out, so it'd be kind of pointless for me. I would say definitely use one, especially if you're looking to get your nutrition in order. So that way it gives you, like I said, more data points and something to work with.